Hello. So in this video, I'm going to give some tips and talk through some ideas for students who are just about to start A-level history, because the jump from GCSE to A-level in history is quite a big jump, and there is a lot of content at A-level history that you'll need to wrap your head around. So the sooner that you get started on that, the better you will do. So there's three key tips that I'm going to go through, and I've got a kind of bonus tip at the end. So the first thing is to find out the practical things about the course that you're going to be studying. So what exam board is it? What options does your school take? What textbook will they be using? Will they give you a textbook? Will you need to buy a textbook? And what about revision guides? Again, will you need to buy that yourself? And then obviously things like flashcards, highlighters, pens, paper, all those things that you'll need to buy as an A-level student that will come in really useful. So find that information out beforehand and find out whether you need to buy those things or if your school will supply them, just so you're kind of ready to get going. On day one, you've got the things that you need to have, because if the school is setting homework or asking you to do some research, if you don't have a textbook, for example, it will just make it much harder. So that's the kind of practical tips that I would give just before you've even started the course. Now on to some ideas of how to build up knowledge of content. And I really recommend reading one of these very short introduction books that are published by Oxford University Press. They are, as it says here, concise, so they're usually between 100 and 200 pages long maximum. So you can kind of read them really quite quickly from cover to cover. They're affordable. You can buy them even secondhand for even cheaper, but even at full retail price, they're pretty cheap. And they're a really useful way into new topics. So, for example, if you are studying Stuart Britain at A-level and you've never ever studied that in any depth before, if you buy the very short introduction to Stuart Britain, it will really give you a good insight into the main events of that period and also the key kind of themes of that period as well. And the very short introduction series really does cover most things that are covered in A-level history, whether it's the Tudors, the Stuarts, the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, American history, all these different areas. Mao's China is another one that's a really good, very short introduction. So you can have a look online, get hold of those, get hold of the relevant ones for your topic, and you will really get a good contextual knowledge that'll help you with the A-level. Something you could read before starting the A-level. The other thing is, even when you've started the A-level, having one of these very short introductions is really useful as a reference book, something you can dip in and out of if you're kind of struggling to get to grips with some key content. So I really do recommend getting hold of those as well. And then the final key tip is, again, about building up your contextual knowledge, because at A-level, as I said, you will find there's a lot more knowledge that you need to remember than there is at GCSE, and it's much more detailed. So finding out the key content from podcasts, videos online lecture series. So some recommendations that I've got are the BBC In Our Time series, which is all available online. One of my favourite ones there is Titus Oates and his Popish Plot, which is about an episode that happens in Stuart Britain. A very kind of significant event which causes lots of has a lot of political consequences. But there's a really good podcast series called Revolutions Podcast, which covers the British Civil War in the 17th century. It also covers the French Revolution, the American Revolution. So you could look at that. I think that's on Spotify. There's also Yale University online lectures on a series of topics in history. So just looking around online, again, about building up your contextual knowledge and just getting to grips with the wide range of knowledge and the key events that you'll need to know for A-level history. It's not about listening to these things and taking lots of notes and trying to memorize it all, but just building up a kind of bigger picture in your head so that when you start the A-level, you've already got a kind of understanding of some of the key events, some of the key themes. And finally, and this is a really obvious one, but the final kind of bonus tip is just read some books, read some history books about the topic or topics that you're going to be studying. just trying to build up a context, some knowledge of the key themes, the key events of the papers that you're going to be studying, the content that you're going to be learning. And to take it a bit further, start thinking about whether you agree with what the historian is saying. Do you agree with their line of argument? Because at A-level history, you'll have to do coursework. And a big part of that is evaluating historical arguments. So if you can read a history book and think whether you agree with the historian's interpretation or not, that's one step towards this coursework that you'll be doing in A-level history. So I hope that was useful. If anybody's got any tips, if you are an existing A-level history student or if you've studied A-level history in the past and you'd like to leave some tips in the comments, that would be great. Anything that you think I've left out or any questions, please let me know. Obviously, I've done a series of videos on exam technique as well as content for the topics that I teach. So have a look at that if you're studying those. Hopefully they'll come in handy. Thanks so much for listening.